Okay, there are two things in my mind that we have to keep in mind if we're going to do this way.
Yeah.
Less so for you because you kind of talk the same all the time, but
Wait, really?
I mean, you've got a little bit of a podcast voice, I guess.
Welcome.
Now I feel very paranoid because anything could be a cold open.
I know.
I could say something intending for no one to hear it but you, and then it might actually go out to the world.
This could be we both edit the podcast before it goes out. So technically, like if I start talking about my butt or something, one of us will have an opportunity to remove that at some point along the way.
We could be doing the cold open right now.
Look, the lesson of the 21st century, man, is that everything is always content all the time, 24/7. We're just generating content every minute of every day.
I know, and it's fucking exhausting.
Remember when you got Twitter and you were like, man, I just let like 300 people know that I bought pants. That's fucking awesome. And here we are.
Remember when a typical tweet was going onto Twitter and typing into the post form in all lowercase with no punctuation, ate a sandwich, post.
Yep.
Like that was Twitter.
I guarantee you that somewhere in like February of 2007, when I had 18 followers and most of them were people I worked with, I guarantee you I sat down on my phone at my desk. I typed poopin' with an apostrophe and then just walked off to the bathroom.
Simpler, more innocent times. I remember when, did you ever do this? I don't remember if I ever did this, but I knew people who would treat the Twitter post form as if it was their Facebook status.
Oh, yeah.
They would tweet as if their name was invisibly being inserted into the front of the tweet.
Well, that was a vibe for a while. That was like a whole thing. People did that.
People would go on there and a tweet would be like, is going to the store, because they expected it to say my name is,
Well, it used to be less about like, okay, so for a long time, there was a period of time, I think before the woman made the racist thing joke on the way to South Africa, that
Justine, don't tell me.
Does Lescarbo? No.
Pride myself on.
Oh, no, that's a friend.
Semi-useless facts. Justine. Oh no, I should know this.
You shouldn't. This is absolutely something you shouldn't know.
I keep wanting to just say Justine Bateman, which is definitely not it.
That is not it.
Justine Sacco.
That sounds right. So before she made her mistake, I feel like a lot of people treated Twitter like an internal monologue that you could just put out there and share with the world.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of people still do that, but
I mean, okay, that is a fair point. But I feel like after that, people were like, oh, right, I should be careful what I say because people can share this. Like before people invented the retweet, I feel like there was a like a kind of like, it was like a safe zone.
Dude, Twitter is way too old.
Twitter's 14 years old, 15 years old.
It is fucked up that I am forgetting aspects of like Twitter's old enough that I'm forgetting aspects of it, like original aspects of Twitter.
Yeah.
Like you just reminded me that retweeting was not a built-in feature of the service at one time. It was something people just did by typing RT in front of the tweet.
Do you hold on, take it a step back further. Do you remember that Twitter used to be a thing that you did by messaging 40404 from your phone?
So I never got in that early. Thank God.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get in early enough to do the SMS Twitter. I was like 09, I think is when I signed up. But
I signed up for unlimited texting in January of 2009 or 2007 to get the TWTR.
That's messed up.
It was a weird time.
Was Justine Sacco the first main character of Twitter?
Oh, wow.
Probably.
Maybe was she before or after the llama? She was way before the llama, right?
I don't know what the llama is.
Yeah, the llama in the dress. The best day in Twitter history. The only good day. The only positive star of Twitter was that fucking llama in where was it? Is it in LA, someplace like Santa Monica or something? Yeah, a couple of llamas that got loose in like a suburban area. And it was the same day as the blue and white or gold and tan dress or whatever that day was.
I don't know.
And I think, I want to say that something else big happened that day. That might have been the day, like, I think that was the day that Gary and Norm and I were back in the whiskey basement signing posters all day. And also Steve Jobs died.
Oh, God. Just all of history happened on a single day.
So it was like a really good day for Twitter, a kind of bad day. I mean, it was nice to sign the posters for people, but like kind of a rough day for the rest of parts of the rest of the world.
Well, hey, now every day on Twitter is a bad day, so at least it's consistent.
Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. I'm still a little shaky on that cold open. I'm not sure. I mean, we're talking to you from the past before we edited it. I hope it turned out okay.
We could do another one if you want.
Right now?
What's the deal with asparagus?
It's good with hollandaise sauce on it.
I do like a good hollandaise. Do you do a classic old school hollandaise where you do the yolks and the butter in the pan and you swirl it all up, or do you do like the immersion blender?
I'm not like you. I can't conjure elaborate food concoctions from the either. I don't know how to make hollandaise sauce. I guess I could buy some.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how to make hollandaise sauce. It's real easy. This is a Serious Eats jam. Do you have a stick blender?
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, yes.
Okay. Phase one, buy a stick blender. They're awesome. They're like $20. It's incredibly useful for making fancy shit like hollandaise sauce. 2, you put the stick blender with some egg yolks in a very narrow cup, like the narrow, like a beer mug is perfect.
Pint glass. Okay.
Pint glass is perfect. Then you take some clarified butter, melted hot, pour that in there while the blender is going with the egg yolks. And you're done. 2 minutes.
What?
That's all it takes.
That cannot be it.
It is the easiest thing in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, you have to do a little bit of lemon juice too.
Okay, dude. Wait, you saying I could be eating my own eggs Benny all the time?
Okay.
All these years I have wasted.
Look, I'm going to tell you this. This is a great power, great responsibility situation because, like, just to be clear, hollandaise sauce is egg yolks, butter, and then a tiny little bit of lemon juice. Mm-hmm. So it is not. This is a dangerous power to have.
Okay. Also,
because it is profoundly unhealthy. But yes, you can have eggs Benny anytime you have Canadian bacon, an egg, and some butter.
English
basically.
muffin. An English muffin. I just want to say that I've never before 30 seconds ago used the phrase eggs Benny in my life, and I never will again.
I have a friend whose WoW character is named Eggs Benny.
That's acceptable.
Yeah.
Stupid WoW names, anything goes, I think. Well,
exactly.
Not anything, within the terms of service. What's the?
Hey, do you know what today is? It's the best day of the month.
Oh, I just wanted to keep talking about eggs blank.
Oh, we can talk about eggs. I love eggs.
Have you ever been to a place that has like other non-Benedicts?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like
there's that Zazie place over in Coal Valley we used to go in the early 2000s that had like eggs Florentine, spinach
yes.
and mushrooms.
I was trying to think of some of the other names.
There was an Eggs a Mexico, which was I think it had some chorizo on there. I can't remember.
Does Florentine have
salsa?
Florentine, the one with the tomato?
Florentine, I think, has tomato. There's one that's like spinach and mushrooms. It's really good.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't. We're recording this right through dinner time. Let's just move on. What are we doing today?
It's my favorite day of the month, Brad.
Oh,
we're here to do something. We're here to do the most. It's the most somber and most important of podcast duties. We're going to turn Q's into A's.
Yes, our sacred duty. We're going to apply our patented formula.
Yes.
Turn the question crank.
And we're going to flatten those questions out until they're A's.
Grind out some succulent, marbled answers.
Right. Tender and juicy.
Yes.
If people wanted to submit Q's to us for potential A turning into, how would they go about that?
Well, they could email techpod@content.town.
You mean techpod@content.town?
Yes, I do mean techpod@content.town, which almost no one is doing anymore.
No, it turns out we have a better, more streamlined solution for turning Q's into A's.
I hope you're right. I hope that's why. You've posited this before as the emails started drying up, much like the water supply in the Colorado River.
Look, I'm going to suggest that nobody in the world, even Mr. Email himself, who invented the first email, likes emails anymore.
Okay, maybe that's right. Yes, you have posited that the emails have been drying up in our inbox because everybody's just using the Discord Q&A channel now.
Yeah, well, and like, look, it's the 21st century, man. Gen Z, like our hot, youthful, incredibly succulent audience, ripe for advertising. They don't like email. Gen Z hates email.
I understand.
Whatever the Gen is after Gen Z, they hate email even more than they hate the Gen Z people hate email.
But the ones after them are going to be way into it.
They're going to get email. They're going to get they're going to go get my old Lotus Note Domino file and check out what email was like in the 90s and be like, man, email used to be so sick.
Wait, do you have a Lotus Domino archive?
I do have a Lotus Domino archive. I have no idea how to access it.
I guarantee somewhere on my NAS are my old Eudora files.
Oh boy. But I never used Eudora.
I think it was okay. I think. Does it still exist?
Who knows? Today,
I'm sorry. We should really start the episode. Wikipedia says is rather than was, so I have to assume that means it is extant to this day.
No popular software ever dies, except for Google Reader when it's in the cloud.
On the other hand, under website in the sidebar, it links to computerhistory.org.
Oh, well, okay, maybe not then.
Or
enough for Eudora.
They put out the source code. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. So, okay, we're turning Q's into A's. You can send them to techpod@content.town. You can post them in the questions seeking answers channel in the Discord if you are a fabulous TechPod patron, which we will tell you more about later. You can go to patreon.com/techpod to find out more.
Yeah, the Discord's a great place. The question asking is not a patron-only benefit, but apparently mostly patrons are doing it these days. So, it's the hottest question asking craze that's sweeping the nation.
What's our first question, Brad?
It is this from Paradox. Do you think the crypto ecosystem will ever become efficient and robust enough to decentralize a platform like OnlyFans? I'm listening to the latter half of last week's podcast, and all I can think of is Ethereum being used to decentralize the payment and distribution of the OnlyFans style content, but I don't know enough to know if that's even feasible.
It's funny they bring this up because this is exactly the type of use case that cryptocurrency aficionados talk about. Like, hey, man, it's a business that's totally legal, but just like the banks and the central repo, nobody wants to touch it, man. It's like legal weed in California. They have to handle cash only, bro.
What are these people's feelings on fiat currency?
They think fiat currency, I think they think it's bullshit, but I don't remember.
That was my expectation. Are they talking about gold fringe on the American flag by any chance?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or 19th century naval law.
I feel like they talk about the gold standard a fair amount.
Or the Corporation of the United States. There's a lot of overlap here. We should definitely move on.
Yeah, look, all I know, man, is if you go and look at the back of the Declaration of Independence, there's some heavy stuff on it.
Yes.
Man.
Okay. That's all sovereign citizen shit, just to be clear.
Okay. So here's the deal. The point of the blockchain based currencies is that, yes, you should be able to establish value and transfer it to and from one another in a situation like this where Visa or MasterCard have decided that they don't want to take money from people anymore because of outside pressure.
Such as OnlyFans, or at least that's what they are claiming.
Well, actually, the OnlyFans thing, quick sidebar, they've said, hey, we're backing off of this because it's been a disastrous business decision for us. We're going to figure out how to make it work.
Oh, they listen to the podcast.
Everything's cool again.
They listened to our podcast. They heard us talk about Tumblr, and they're like, oh, man, we should hire those guys as fabulously paid consultants because, boy, they nailed that one.
Interesting you say that. Anyway. Okay, so the problem with blockchain right now as it is that the number of transactions per hour that the blockchain technologies can actually process is, I don't want to say hilariously low because that seems diminutive in a way that is intended but unkind, but it's really, really low. Like
really?
Visa can transact billions of transactions a day, and blockchain can do a few 100,000, few million, depending on the blockchain you're talking about. Now, the way you can get around this problem is you can pay a thing that Norm and I discovered when we did our Bitcoin video like 6 years ago about miners fees, which is you can pay the people who basically own the transaction, control the transactions on the chain, and you can give them a little bit of juice to get them to bump you to the top of the queue. And that's fine when it's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a buck, right? Like when Norm and I did our Bitcoin thing in 2015, Bitcoin cost $400 and the miner's fee to do the transaction was like 3 cents, right? We didn't pay because we didn't know what it was. And then as a result, Norm's transaction was in limbo for ages until it was finally rejected.
Nice.
Like days. Right now on the Ethereum chain, because there's such high demand because of all the stuff that's happening with the programs that run on Ethereum, the contracts that run on Ethereum, the mining fees are really high at high traffic times of day. So like daytime in the US, daytime in Europe, daytime in Southeast Asia, Ethereum transaction fees can be like $5 or $10, sometimes $50 or $100 even for every transaction that happens on the chain in order to get them done in anything approaching a reasonable period of time. So yes, in theory, a robust, decentralized crypto ecosystem could solve the OnlyFans Visa payment processing problem. In reality, I don't think there's anything that's there yet that has enough value in the chain to be worth using. And that scaling problem has to be solved before any of that stuff can happen.
I mean, considering what you hear about the energy usage of the blockchain already, and you're saying is that not a proportional problem? I mean, if the capacity scales up, would the energy usage also not scale up?
So no. So there's two different things. The energy usage is just for generating the currency.
Not for computing the transactions.
The transactions have very low computational cost.
I see. Okay.
So like once you have your Ethereum mined, that cost is done and paid. But if you have to pay a miner to send your money to somebody else to buy something, then that money has to that Ethereum has to come from someplace, and that has an environmental cost as well.
Sure.
So
okay.
That's
not as bad though. I assumed some cryptography had to take place every time anybody did anything on there.
It does, but that's easy math. That's like normal cryptography math, not hey, we're solving primes math.
I see.
Yeah.
And then that covers the payment transaction stuff, but he is proposing distribution of content on there. Do you have any idea how that would work?
Well, so I mean, essentially all blockchains is distributed databases that it's a shared hallucination of a database, basically, amongst all of the computers that are using the thing. And the downside of it is that the transactions are really slow. So realistically, you might share access and use one of the neat things about Ethereum is that you can actually buy a thing that acts as a password for other things. So like if you buy an NFT, a friend of mine is doing an NFT project right now, and if I buy one of his NFTs, it gives me access to a special area on his Discord, and also presumably other stuff in the future if he decides to continue doing that. Tom Sachs is another artist, did an NFT project a few months ago where he was basically like the images that you bought were of rockets, and when you collected a certain number of them, you could combine them, destroy those cryptographically, again, a low math transaction, and get a different one that is a combination of those three as a result of that, which he would then make and shoot off like with the Estes model rocket engines, find and send to you in a box so that you have a piece of art in your house. Like there's a bunch of weird shit going on in this space. Theoretically, what this person is suggesting is possible. None of the chains that are out there right now that I'm aware of and that are like mainstream and broad appeal have the right stuff to make this happen.
Sounds like a massive R&D investment.
I mean, if somebody figures out how to do it in a way, like the other thing that's happening is a lot of places are moving away from proof of work, which is what requires the gnarly math and generates a lot of carbon and because of the energy used. Like Ethereum is working to move away from there. There's a bunch of non-proof of work chains that are built on proof of whatever else, including like the hard drive one and a bunch of other things. Some based on internet access where you have like a Wi-Fi access point that people can hit, and the payment is in this cryptocurrency. So it's just a payment processing engine at that point, and at the scale that they're operating at, it seems to be working fine. So like I don't know. I've been generally pretty bullish on blockchain stuff. I think that there's the interesting app. We're at the point now, like, remember when Web 2.0 was new and like the only thing that was a Web 2.0 app was Delicious, and you were like, man, this is really neat, but I don't know what anybody's going to ever use this for.
Boy.
And then Yahoo bought them and completely fucking destroyed it.
Yes. Well, actually, when you said that, I was thinking more about all of the other quote unquote Web 2.0 sites and businesses that came about that became the biggest things in the world.
But so that early phase when everybody was like, look, I'm Web 2.0, there was a lot of that nonsense, right? But then now the things that made those sites Web 2.0 are just the expectations for functionality on every website that we use today.
You are absolutely right about that. Yes. And
we're at the point now where we're looking at like NFTs are delicious, right? They're like, this is really neat. It's cool that the artists are able to get paid. And I think we'll talk more about that soon. But like, I don't know what the real applications are, and people are just starting to figure out the real applications.
Right. Whoever solves those problems will be the next wave of filthy billionaires.
Probably, yeah. Or maybe not. Who knows? A lot of the people that work in this space have different feelings about accumulation of wealth.
Sure.
Anyway.
That's fair. Okay. Shall we move on?
Sure.
Next question is from Luke on the Discord. I always want to read his name as Luke JP because I have text to kind of emoji functionality turned off in my Discord client.
What?
So everyone, look, if you want all of the emojis to show up as text emoticons, as I do, you kind of have to throw the baby out with the bathwater because there's only one toggle in Discord for turning all graphical icons into text.
Wait, so if I use the Guy Fieri emote in a message to you in Discord, does it just say Guy Fieri chef kiss?
No. So the emojis, the inline emojis still show up as they should be.
Okay, it's only the Unicode emoji.
It's like if somebody types colon close parenthesis,
yeah,
it shows up as colon close parenthesis, not as a interpreted smiley face. Anyway, all I'm saying is it does not display the Japanese flag after his username in my Discord. Okay. It always says JP, so I think of him as Luke JP.
Luke JP. Okay, got it.
That's who wrote this question. Before music streaming took over, what was your PMP of choice? Mine really kicked the llama's ass. P.S. iTunes on Windows was garbage. I've never heard the term PMP before, but
personal media player.
God damn it! I was going to say from context, one might infer that it stands for exactly that, or I might have said personal music player.
It's probably music in the time.
That's what I would have assumed. Because at the time he's describing, there weren't a lot of video players out because video still kind of sucked, right? Like that was
120 by 100 resolution or something ridiculous.
Right,
yeah.
Like that was like it wasn't until H.264 was very widespread before stuff like VLC and like nice downloadable video really came about, right? Like I'm trying to think
there was MPEG 2 distribution.
MPEG 2, like DivX.
Yeah, DivX, but DivX was an MPEG 2 fork that had the IP stuff stripped out.
Sure. Yeah, I guess it was getting there. You're right.
But it like the quality wasn't good and it was really blocky. Like it was not designed to be. It was also for the most part not designed to be delivered in anything but a whole file. So you couldn't usually start playback until it was all the way downloaded, which was a bad experience.
Yes.
Oh, QuickTime was the other thing. QuickTime. Yeah. Like I downloaded Spirit of Christmas, the Trey Parker Matt Stone short, as a move file, I believe.
Yes. Anyway, but mostly music players at the time he's talking about. I was absolutely a WinAmp guy for pretty much ever until I'm trying to think what would have gotten me off of WinAmp.
Probably iTunes.
I think you're right.
Phone, if I had to guess.
I think it was iTunes. I think it was getting into the Apple ecosystem and necessitating iTunes that made me switch to iTunes for a while.
So the very first thing I wrote for the February 2000 issue of Maximum PC Magazine was a guide to personal music players.
Okay. The expert is here.
Past brief moment of expert. My recommendation from that issue, which I used for a long time, was Music Match Jukebox.
I've heard of that one.
It would do automatic, it would fix your ID3 tags, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a powerful feature.
That was definitely, not that things are that much better now, but that was definitely a time of just garbage, messy ID3 tags all over the place.
Well, yeah, even if you ripped your own music at that point, it also had a ripper built in, which was unusual at that time. I think if current me was going back to 2001, I would be a WinAmp guy at this point, probably, because I would have just dealt with the tags, I think. Yeah,
for sure. I'm looking up Music Match Jukebox. It looks like WinAmp. I guess all software looked like that did back then.
Well, yeah, it was the thing it was it had a database. Like it would scan your files and make a database so you could search for stuff and things like that. And WinAmp required you to have folder structure that was useful and good and all that.
Did it really? I guess I'd forgotten that part.
Or you made playlists, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was mostly a playlist guy. I mostly just used WinAmp because of the skins. There was such a thriving skin community for that. I mostly made it look like OS 10.
I made a face.
What? Why?
Skins. I hate UI changes like that. It just makes it hard to use that. I never know what to find. Like download the sick Half-Life 2 skin for WinAmp and you're like, which of these symbols that is not a play button is going to make the music come out?
I mean, to be fair, in OS 10 treatment for a music player skin, it's pretty obvious what the music controls are.
That's probably fine.
Also, WinAmp used a non-standard skin to begin with, so like 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
That's fair.
Although, thinking back, now I suddenly feel this like strong wave of nostalgia about the WinAmp interface.
There's I saw a few months ago somebody was talking about a WinAmp skin archive that has like, it may even be on archive.org, but it has pictures of all of them. You can get them all.
No kidding.
It did indeed whip the llama's ass.
I've got to go look that up. That sounds great. I'm on winamp.com now. I haven't been here in a very long time. There's a fun fact. For years and years, whenever I would get on a new internet connection anywhere, when I would go download WinAmp to see how fast it downloaded. That was my benchmark.
How fast did it download?
In the days before speed test or fast.com.
Really? Well, WinAmp got bought by AOL, right?
Was it AOL? It definitely got bought.
Llamasoft.
Justin Frankel is like still around. He made Reaper. He's still doing stuff in that space.
Reaper, the music thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Let Let me make sure.
Here we go with the
Live fact checking. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yes. Also, Shoutcast and Nutella. Remember that?
Oh yeah, Nutella was
Nutella.
Yeah, and Shoutcast was how I first got like streamed music on my computer.
You guys done some cool stuff.
Did you ever run a Shoutcast station, Brad?
No, I did not run one. I certainly tried them out. I listened to them.
We should start shoutcasting the podcast.
Ooh,
it's like Sunday at midnight. Just run it out live.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Hey, everybody, come on in live.
That sounds like exactly the kind of useless thing that 67 people would enjoy that I would like to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Should I download WinAmp? I'm here.
No.
I
mean, do it maybe later, but
I just click download. It's downloading.
Oh boy, here it is.
Very slowly. Actually, it's still going. 7.8 megabytes is taking longer than it takes for me to say the sentence. It just finished.
I think we're all disappointed.
Also, they now refer to it as version 5.infinity, which is kind of cool. That's a nice.
Is it open source by this point?
That's a neat way to get across. This will be the last version of WinAmp ever. No.
Wow.
It says a leaked version of WinAmp 5.8 recently spread over the internet. Consequently, we have decided to make this new version available to you, revised by us. I don't know. I'm going to look this up.
I wouldn't run that on my computer without virus scanning it. Probably.
I don't intend to install this. I just. And I'm curious about where WinAmp has been the last some years that I have not been using it.
Brad and Will made a really infected PC.
Ugh, God, my Windows install is so old.
Well, hey, good news.
I heard there was a podcast I could listen to for some nice tips on gussying up a new fresh Windows.
I'm so excited, but Windows 11 is close enough now that I feel like I have to wait.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make the jump.
I know you're not going to. That surprises literally no one.
I mean, I have certainly been eager to install brand new OSs in the past. Just not so much this one. There's just too much uncertainty about this one.
Yeah.
For now.
Should we do another question?
Yeah. Next question comes in from Mustard Facial.
Mm-hmm.
BitchX, HexChat, or MIRC? If MIRC, evaluation or paid? I felt like this question paired well with the last one, just asking a couple of old dudes about their old software choices.
I was an MIRC guy because I tried to get BitchX to run and I could never make it work.
First, I've never heard of HexChat.
I don't know what HexChat is.
I would have to look that up. Is that based on XChat? Exists for Windows and Unix-like systems. When I saw it, at first I thought BitchX was an IRC bot, but it is a client, right?
It's a Linux client, I think.
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah, it was a Unix-like client back then, like ages ago. I mean, I remember people using BitchX in the 90s.
I wonder if I could run it on PowerShell now that there's a Linux terminal.
You mean WSL, Windows subsystem for Linux 2?
I bet it runs. I bet it just runs.
Oh, yeah, well, that's just Linux
compliant.
That is Linux.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how you're starting it, but that is an actual Linux VM. WSL2 is literal actual Linux. So basically anything that runs in Linux runs in that with some distinctions because they use a different init system, but
yeah, I don't think I ever managed to get BitchX running on my shell account because I don't think that they let us install stuff on the shell account that was over a certain size and it was maybe too big. But I was 100% an MIRC guy.
Yeah, I was all Windows back then too. So
I feel bad about it now, but I totally downloaded a keygen.
Yikes.
Yeah. So paid, I guess.
I did not do that. Wow. That's
paid.
Boy, that's bold.
I know.
Admit that in public. Jeez.
I hope nobody comes after me. I'm so sorry.
I don't recall ever keygenning it, but I never paid for it either. I just put up the splash screen. Because I think that was all there was.
It kicked you off after like 30 minutes or something, didn't it?
No way. You could definitely use that thing for free. Oh God, don't tell me. Khaled. Oh God, what was his name? The developer of MIRC. Khaled.
Oh man, we're going to have to call this episode Brad Looks Up People's Names.
God, now I'm going to MIRC.com.
Our next question comes from Xander.
God damn it, wait, I've got to find this out. It's not even listed on this website. I'm not going to install the client just to find this out.
Nope. You're going to go to bed tonight. You're going to be laying there and be like, it's
Khaled Mardam Bey.
There you go. He has a picture on there, right?
Yes, it's in the about screen, I think. Yeah. I used Zircon for a while.
Oh, Zircon was good. But it had skins, right?
Maybe. It never came out of beta, though. It made it to beta 4, 1.0 beta 4 on Windows, and it seemed very promising. It let you do TCL scripting, to customize your IRC client. But then
Kind
the
of like a
final
little mini bot.
Kinda. But
You
the
bot yourself.
the final version never came out, and it was very sad.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah. Okay. How about?
I scrolled down to the next question. I read somebody's name already, Brad.
Oh, you already said this is the one from Xander.
Yeah.
Xander in the Bay Area.
Yes.
One of
I've
the
met
two.
Xander before.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is one of the two people who emailed us this month.
Thanks, Xander.
Yeah. I was wondering if you all have any advice for 3D scanning someone's head and converting that into something I can print. Bonus points for an entire body scan and getting a full-sized foam sculpt. Is this achievable and affordable by normal people these days? Bonus info, I have both an iPhone 12 Pro and a new iPad Pro.
So the scanning is going to be pretty straightforward. The application you want is called, I think it's Scandy Pro. And it's free to try and costs there's a subscription fee. For a while, the subscriptions were only annual. I feel like people got pissed off about that. So you might be able to flip it on for a month and flip it back off. But it uses the depth sensor on the iPhone or the LiDAR thing on the iPad. That's basically you're going to want to use the back facing camera for this, probably would be my guess. So you can they have to stand incredibly still. You're going to want to pull, if they have long hair or curly hair or anything like that, you want to get the hair down as much as possible. And then you need a stool or whatever, because you got to get above. You kind of want them to T-pose or at least have their arms out at a 45-degree angle so you can get armpits and crotchal region and all of that.
It's a proper anatomical term.
Yeah. The cutting, the head is a lot easier if you have somebody sit in an office chair and put the iPad on a fixed mount, or the iPhone will work too on a fixed mount. Getting the optimal distance requires a little trial and error. You want to make sure you have pretty good lighting, but it doesn't really matter with the iPhone sensor. And if they sit with their spine and the center of not necessarily the spine, but the center of their head aligned with the axis that the chair turns on, you can just turn the chair real slowly and it works great.
Oh, wow.
Although that said, Scandy does use the accelerometer and gyroscope and depth sensors to tell how it's moving in 3D space as well. So it may work better now if you actually move the camera around rather than have them move. Wiggling totally jacks it up though. The printing side is harder. If you want life size, you're going to probably have to get somebody to do that. If you get a clean enough model and you kind of decimate it down so it's reasonable number of polygons, you might be able to get a foam head cut out on a CNC lathe or CNC mill or something like that. I don't know. I'd be curious if people have comments on that. Maybe post them in the Discord, or send them to email and we'll share them later. But my guess is that that's going to be really expensive. The full size foam body is going to cost a fortune.
Yeah, I believe that. I know nothing of the subject, and I believe that.
That thing that happens in Mission Impossible where they carve the face out of the foam block is really cool. And you can't do that with real lasers because the foams from burning the styrofoam are super bad for everything involved in the process.
Yes. No lasers on foam, styrofoam, or otherwise.
No lasers on anything with chlorine.
Ugh.
Yeah.
All right. The more you know.
What's the next beat, QJ? I'm going to call you a question jockey from now on.
Ugh.
It's bad. It's how I said that and it immediately regretted it.
That is bad. How about this question from Chester Snapdragon McFisticuffs? Pretty good name. Do you wear a smartwatch? I just bought one and I think I'm excited. So you can tell he was asking a question because I said it. I raised the intonation at the end of the sentence.
This is why you're the QJ.
That's right. Yep. I don't wear a watch of any kind. Long about the time the pandemic started, I was starting to consider getting an Apple Watch for both fitness and payment reasons. But then now I never leave the house, so no.
I bought the very first Apple Watch, and 2 years later, they stopped supporting it with new software, or 2.5 years later, something like that. And I was like, I'm never going to pay $600 for one of these things again.
It's rough. I don't know how other manufacturers are. I know Samsung's pretty big in that space, but the Apple's treatment of Apple Watch customers seems kind of suspect.
Well, so they're better now. They last a long time now.
So my girlfriend has I think it's a Series 1. I think it's the second generation one.
Yeah, mine was the Series 0, which
Right.
they originally just called the Apple Watch
Right.
and then immediately stopped supporting.
So I think she has the one after you, but the battery is bulging the screen out of the unit now.
They replaced my Series 0 and it was bulging even when it was way out of warranty.
For free?
For $20.
Okay. The best we could tell, it was going to cost at least $80 to get this replaced.
Well, they also offered to buy it back from me for $5. So I thought that was nice.
What a deal.
That said, the time that they support them now is much better. They still are like at most, I think, a 5-year thing, which is it's a lot of money to spend on something in the last 5 years. I've had a couple of Android smartwatches over the years, but as an iOS user, they're not exactly useless, but they're not great. The Pebble, the one that had the e-ink screen or the electronic ink screen, whatever it was, I absolutely loved. I thought it was fabulous because it was like it gave me notifications and it told the time and the battery lasted 7 or 8 days, which is really all I wanted out of it. The new Apple Watches, as I get older, the new Apple Watches that have the EKG and the blood ox and all that stuff seem kind of compelling with a family history of heart disease.
Oh, right. That's right. It's almost like we're both from the South.
Yeah.
How surprising that we both have a family history of heart disease.
Yeah, shocking that.
Yeah, that's the other one I forgot. But besides the fitness tracking and the Apple Pay stuff, the telemetry on your ongoing passive health statistics, pretty appealing.
That said, when I asked my doctor about this years ago, he was like, yeah, none of that stuff matter. Like, I was like, is any of this actionable? He's like, no, don't worry about it. But that was before they put the actual EKG in. So who knows?
Okay.
I don't know. I have a wind up watch. I like my wind up watch, but I don't ever wear it because I don't ever leave the house anymore.
Yes. I know the feeling. Let's see. How about this question from Alex Petliakov, who says, I hope I said his name correctly. Greetings from the land of bears and vodka. He means
Canada.
He means Russia, but they're not as far apart as you might think.
Yeah.
Similar latitude.
Yeah.
What's your take on the current state of the process of opening or starting a company? Does digital make it easier or better, or is bureaucracy winning no matter how hard we try?
I don't know. When we started the company for TechPod, I found it pretty simple.
It took 15 minutes.
I mean, then we had to wait a few days.
Well, yeah, obviously stuff has to process on the back end, but you screen shared and let me watch just so we would both be on the, in the know.
We basically,
it was just it was a very web 2.0. I don't know if that's the right term, but it was a very sanitized, like friendly, rough edges filed down, like clicking next a lot and just typing into some fields.
It was way easier than it was 5 years ago when I started Foo, but it's also, we're doing an LLC instead of a C Corp. So it's a different structure,
much simpler
requirements and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was my first experience with it, so I have no frame of reference, but I would say the, digital access to that stuff is making it easier.
So there's a Cory Doctorow book from like 2000, 2001, 2002, somewhere in there, that's about a corporation that writes scripts that basically let them continue to incorporate and make like a Russian doll of nested companies all the way down.
Okay.
So that basically they're completely impervious to any kind of investigation because there's no way of telling. It's almost like the Trump org, actually.
Great.
But like programmatic and smart instead of, Trumpian.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like maybe having some speed bumps on this stuff is good, but in this case, it really benefited us. So I don't know.
It did. The one caveat here, I would say it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's very easy to get in. Which may be a little misleading in terms of how difficult it is to then parse a lot of the requirements later on.
That's true.
In terms of filing requirements like tax regulations, stuff like that. Like they make it very easy to set the company up, but they don't then come after you and say like, hey, you need to file this with this state and do this by this date and like make sure you pay your taxes 4 times a year. And
we do need to do all that stuff still when I think about it. So yeah.
It's still a lot to figure out.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
It's always challenging. This is a place where I actually miss living in a small town, because if I lived in a small town, I have an accountant that I've known for 20 years, and I would just call and say, hey, or a lawyer, and I just call and say, hey, I have this thing I want to do. Can you help me do it? And they'd be like, yeah, it'll be $250. Here you go. But here you call like 5 different lawyers and they're all like, oh yeah, we charge $600 an hour. And this is usually a 3-hour job. And we're like, oh man, I don't know if it's about, I'll just do the website and take my chances.
Just figure it out.
I can do some reading.
It's white collar crime. What's the worst that could happen?
They're going to ask you to pay a fine. It's probably okay. And plus, if it goes to, look, as we established when we started the podcast, Brad's the mastermind. If anything goes bad, he's the one that goes to jail. I'm just the patsy. I'm the stooge.
Now I know why you registered this thing with my name first.
Podcast law.
Shit.
I emailed it to myself, Brad.
I've never thought to actually ask you this, and now here I find myself asking you on air in the middle of everything in front of everyone.
Yeah, this is embarrassing for both of us.
Did you put my name first in the title for alphabetization reasons? I can't talk today.
When we came up with the name, Brad and Will made a tech pod a placeholder name for the preview episode.
Okay, am I ascribing more intentional thought to this process than actually happened?
I was always under the impression that the preferred way to do this in the English language when you are making a list of yourself and other people is that you put yourself at the end.
Oh, so it was Southern manners.
Manners.
What you're saying. I always assumed you did it so that we would float way higher in any list of alphabetized podcasts.
That is way smarter reason than I ever would have come up with.
Okay. Also, again, as you alluded to, I don't think either of us expected or intended for that to be the permanent title. And then all of a sudden it just happened.
Well, yeah, like Sweatpants Tech Pod didn't really stick for either of us super well.
Yeah.
But I liked the concept. And then we're like, what if it's just like, great placeholder names. Yeah. And then people liked it. So it worked out. Yeah. If I was really smart, we would have called it Ad and Will made a tech pod because then it'd be 2 A's at the front.
AAA Aardvark Tech Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. We're going to need you to change your name, Brad. I hope that's okay.
God, you know what?
I have a web form.
It just occurred to me the dishwasher hunt that I'm on, as referred to in the cold open, all of the appliance repair places I've contacted have a bunch of A's in their name.
Weird that.
Yeah.
It's Aaron's appliance repair.
All AAA All-Star appliance repair.
Oh, these are big city problems for appliance guys.
Yeah.
Appliance game's hot these days.
Yeah. So it seems.
I wish I could do something where I got paid $500 just for hitting the door.
God, I bet that is pretty lucrative, isn't it? But then you have to know how to fix. You have to know how to fix stuff. You have to know how to deal with people, customers.
You know what? If you're in the dishwasher repair game, all you have to do is get there and be like, "Yep, no, this one's not worth fixing. You should buy a new one. Where's my $500?"
Damn, we're in the wrong line of work.
I know.
Let's see here. We've got a lot of good questions here. I'm going to say thank you to everyone for writing in. Oh, here's a good one that I skipped over earlier. Ryan from Northern Ireland. What are your thoughts on the future of cinema and movie watching?
Ooh.
It seems like cinemas are going for full luxury with better seats and big sound, but picture quality is still going to be a challenge for them while using projectors that don't have the ability to show HDR and so on. And at the same time, consumer audio is starting to show interesting strides with the likes of Apple's spatial audio and headphones that simulate full Atmos surround. Will we see the home user end up with the ultimate theater experience in the end? Love the show, and thanks for your company through the last year plus.
When was the last time you went to a movie, Brad?
Man, holy crap. I mean, I'm a complete shut-in, so I'm a bad person to ask.
But you're not like a regular cinema goer, even before.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Even before the pandemic, we saw Interstellar in the theater, but that was like 2014. I do not remember, man. Like, I mean, we're in a nice position where the San Francisco Public Library has a ton of Blu-rays. Like, they get everything that comes out.
Yeah,
well, not everything, but like damn near every new release, they get a ton of copies of stuff. So. And we live very close to a branch, so we can just check out most every movie for free and go get it and watch it easily.
Well, so I love going to the theater. Like, it's one of my favorite things in the world to do. Like, I like going and getting some popcorn and getting a hot dog and getting a Coke and sitting down and eating some garbage food.
Okay.
And watching a really stupid movie on a big giant screen as loud as it can be.
You spent most of that description talking about the food. How much of it is actually just the food?
I can make all of those food items at home and it's still not quite the same.
Okay.
I like the big loud. I like the shiny and the pew pew and the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic American ritual. Obviously, it's not just American, but you know what I mean? It's like kind of a piece of Americana, the ritual of going to the theater.
Well, but there's also like in our increasingly tech obsessed world, says the old man, there's also a nice thing about going to the theater, which is that I go to the theater and I expect to fully focus on whatever it is that I'm doing. Right. Like,
Okay.
and sometimes, and I do that at home. I make a concerted effort to do it at home, but I have to make an effort to do that at home. And if I go to the theater, I'm not enough of an asshole to like whip out my phone and start texting somebody in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, but there are plenty of those assholes. Oh, I Gravity. I just remembered I saw Gravity in the IMAX and the guy in front of me would not get off his damn phone. And that really sucked. Yeah,
so that's bad. Like, so one of the things I found is that when we started getting reserved seats theaters here, that problem almost evaporated because those tickets were always a little bit more expensive. And the people who were willing to pay the extra $2 were less likely to be on their phone texting during the movie, except for during kids' movies.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Ryan from Northern Ireland pretty much hit the nail on the head, right? Like a luxury high-end experience probably seems like the way forward for theaters. Like, you have to offer something they can't get at home, right? The
Dolby Cinema approach, like the big giant, like super bright laser illuminated screen and the sound that melts your teeth and the whole thing. I absolutely love that. I even love the stupid screen that you walk in on the way into those that has like some weird outtakes from the movies or like the characters standing there. So you can take your pictures next to the big selfie screen. I think, well, first off, good theaters should be able to keep up better than home users. Cause like a home user replaces a TV every 5 to 10 years, if that. And the theaters replace projectors every traditionally every 2 or 3 years. Now, the pandemic has had a huge, the other part, the Apple spatial audio stuff is really cool for listening to movies and watching movies on your phone, but like, it's not going to replace the 50 speakers that are in an IMAX theater or whatever that make your intestines rumble.
Sure.
That said, the movie theater situation is in flux. A couple of chains have already gone out of business as a result of the pandemic. Like everybody is hunkering down. I really worry that we're going to end up with the antitrust changes that happened a couple of years ago in terms of studios being allowed to own theater chains now.
That's right.
That we're going to end up in a situation like we were in the 50s where the studios own their own theater chains. And if you want to see a Disney movie or a Fox movie or one of the other 5 different sub brands that Disney owns now, you got to go to AMC. And if you want to see a Universal movie, you got to go to Regal. And if you want to see blah, blah, blah. And like, that seems like a friggin' awful, bad situation to be in.
That will be the end of me going to the theater, most likely.
Yeah. Vertically integrated monopolies are bad, it turns out.
Yes.
Who knew?
Yeah. Who would have thought? Yeah. I am the opposite of you. The home experience has gotten more than good enough for me to be much happier at home.
I like,
well, let me take that back with a few exceptions, because I just remembered what I actually just saw the last in the theater.
Okay.
It was Apollo 11 in the IMAX.
Oh, you got to see that? Oh, I didn't go see that. I wish I had. Which
only ran for 2 weeks, I think.
They brought it back a couple of times, but yeah, you're talking about the documentary, not the Tom Hanks movie.
No. This is Apollo 11. We've talked about it before, but if you don't remember that, or if you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's incredible. It's the documentary where they found hundreds of hours of undeveloped 35 millimeter film in the NASA archives of the Apollo 11 launch and mission.
But was it like they do that intentionally too? What? They didn't develop all of the film from the Apollo missions isn't going to be developed for years.
Well, this was very much portrayed as nobody still at NASA knew this was here. It was kind of lost in the archive. It was just sitting in the warehouse.
Oh, wow.
Like they did not know what treasure. Like you can read interviews with the filmmakers who they set out to make one kind of Apollo 11 documentary.
Yeah.
And then once NASA went into the archives and found all this stuff, they ended up making a very different movie.
That's awesome.
But I mean, I know I've gushed about this before. I mean, it's just mind blowing because that footage looks so good. It's other than the beehive hairstyles and horn rimmed glasses and so forth.
Yeah.
And like smoking in the mission control or whatever. It looks like it was shot yesterday.
When we went to Johnson and they were tearing out, like they were remodeling one of the mission controls, we got to go in and see the ashtrays.
God.
They hadn't been used in a long time, but they were still there.
That would be a great tchotchke in the gift shop to sell a replica. Of course.
I think they all stole them so they would have them.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hope that cinema continues because I love going to the movie theater.
Yes, like for the people who love it, I'm ambivalent, but it would be a real shame for that to go bad. At the same time, that seems like the kind of thing where like 100 years from now, like they're I would absolutely believe if we could look through a window in time, I would believe that theaters could be completely like the form of movies might be gone in 100 years, right?
100 years is a long time. If I lived, my feelings might be different on the whole thing. If I lived someplace that was big enough that I had like a basement room I could devote to a screen, like we have friends who have big giant theaters in their basements and with like recliners and the whole thing. And like, if we were in a situation where we could put a projector up, I might have a different feeling about the whole. But in 100 years, you're right. We're going to be just putting the spike in the back of your skull and you get the movie beam. Right. Watch a movie in 8 seconds. It's done.
Or you're going to be in the movie. Like you will be participating in.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves looks up at the camera and goes, "Whoa, I've just seen Howard's End."
You never want to see Howard's End.
No.
Trust me.
I don't actually remember what Howard's End is, but anyway.
Let's see here.
I'm going to do a couple more, maybe?
Yeah, a couple quick ones. This question is difficult. From Robert Lane.
Oh, boy.
Speaking of future tech, if you had to choose a piece of futuristic tech from Star Trek to magic into existence, excluding the scarcity of resource / solving world hunger ending replicators, that's the part that makes this question tough. What would it be? And a follow-up for the most realistic future tech you're most excited to see be developed. Like,
man, this is tough.
Like it is the replicator 1,000, like all day, every day, like 1,000 times over. Like the machine that magics, critical resources from nothing. So if he excludes that from the question, like I don't even know. I would say the medical technology. Does that count? Is that distinct enough from the replicator?
Are we assuming that like the power? Because I feel like everything is like transporters, replicators, all of that stuff is based on the idea that like energy is free.
Yes, right? It is. Not only that, but they have unlocked some magic solution for controlled matter energy conversion. That's the whole premise of Star Trek.
Yeah,
is that they have unlimited stores of energy and they can turn that energy into any arrangement of matter they want at any time. Or that's how transporters work as well, right? You turn a person into energy and back.
Like the way transporters really work is by plot, but okay.
No, I know. I'm saying that's their justification for it. Like that's how they explain it. But for the purposes of this question, like all of that is kind of a replicator. So I feel like the medical stuff is different enough. Like, have you seen enough to know? Like, they'll pull out the little doohickey and just like, wave it over a massive gash in somebody's arm and it just heals and instantly. Like they fix broken bones. They replace hearts. Like people live to the age of 150. So
you think like just that medbay, the TNG medbay bed with the little thing over it?
Yeah. Like they've cured every known disease, like it's tough to, it's tough to look at Star Trek and answer a question like this because they've got it so damn good that it's difficult to pick anything that is not one of those things that just meets the most basic needs for the most people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the transporter seems like it would solve a lot of problems too.
Yeah,
right?
It would, but it feels a little more frivolous to me than the medical stuff.
Sonic showers seem convenient.
That I don't know.
You just take a shower with your clothes on. Clothes are clean, you're clean. It all works itself out.
I don't know.
But like the transporter, think about like the powerful good you could do with the transporter. Like there's people are stranded in the wilderness. They text the number and the transporter beams them out and puts them someplace where they're safe.
Yeah. Like the carbon savings for being able to ship worldwide and move people around without generating emissions. Pretty good.
Well, but what's the energy cost? Like think of how many ground up ferns you're going to have to burn to fire off one transporter.
For the purposes of this experiment, all the energy is free.
Okay, because I was going to say the other answer is obviously like the engine core, right? Like the infinite energy.
Oh man, actually faster, like way faster than light travel is also a tough one to give up, actually.
That does open up the entire universe.
I didn't think about that.
But you did choose like, hey, it's nice that Bob got a new heart, I guess.
Look.
And then like we also, there's the untapped potential of the holodeck. Think of how bad we could make the Earth, and if you gave everybody holodecks, they wouldn't even care.
The less said about the potential for the holodeck use, the better.
Look, there's squeegees in there. It's fine.
You don't need squeegees. You just turn all of that material into more energy. Whatever is left behind in the holodeck just becomes energy.
Oh, do you think
it is the future Starship version of being on the submarine and drinking your own pee because it went through water filtration? It's that hamburger you're eating by process of matter energy conversion may have been something very different previously.
Well, you never see toilets in Star Trek. Do you think they just beam the poop out?
Oh God, that's
Think about
okay.
it.
No, that's all right. We should.
Okay, hold on though. But I do have a real question. Like, you never see anybody vacuuming the halls of the Enterprise. Do you think like the people are still shedding dust, skin cells all the time, right? So
yeah.
Do you think they just beam the dust out of the carpet? Do you think there's a robot vacuum that comes by when the cameras aren't around?
There's
What's the process?
Yeah,
there?
I'm sure they've got some automated solution for that, right?
I don't know, man. You don't really see a whole lot of robots in Star Trek.
No, you don't. That's true. I mean, well, like you said, the answer is always plot.
I guess plot
or plausible deniability or suspension of disbelief or whatever.
I want a Star Trek show about the person who has to sweep up at the end of the day, like just comes in and dusts off the bridge.
We got into this on a Nextlander podcast recently, but I mean that's kind of quietly always one of the biggest holes in the entire Star Trek milieu.
Well, that's what Lower Decks is about. Is
like who would actually want to do the manual labor? Who would actually want to do menial labor in that society?
Well, like, so I love doing stuff like sorting, like shop jobs, like sorting screws and doing stuff like that. Like that's fairly easily automated, but it's really satisfying to just sit down and take a couple hours and like sort everything out and take your dumping bucket and put it all in like the right places.
Yeah. I mean, but you are still deriving some personal satisfaction from that. Like the classic example is there are some episodes here and there where you will see waiters, people who wait tables. And who would choose to? I mean, there probably are some people
really like waiting tables.
Yeah,
I thought waiting tables, like if waiting tables paid enough for me to do the bills, I liked waiting tables. It was nice. You get to meet people, you get to chat with people. Like you make them happy. You're providing a valuable service. Like that's a like I can see finding value in that.
I guess okay, fine. I don't know. Man, I can't settle on an answer.
I think it's got to be the teleporter for me, the transporter.
Transporter. I don't know, man. I think I might take warp drive over transporter.
Look, I'm looking at a 10-hour drive this weekend. I'm happy. I would love to have it. If I could just be like, yeah, here we go, boom, take me and be there, I would be all over that. Of course, I hated taking long car drives when I was a kid.
Same. Yeah, you might be onto something. Maybe I'll change my answer. All right. Last question.
Okay, sure.
Kind of a similar related question, except in the other direction, from Joe Tavano. What tech ideas were you really excited about 10 years ago that never actually amounted to much? I've been listening to you guys for longer than that, so it would be enjoyable to hear. Back in the day, I think Will used to eat eggs or something for a similar topic. I forget.
No, Norm, when Norm made a prediction, it was bad. Norm, I feel like we had a bit on the early tested podcast where Norm was like, we got to do like, if you make a mistake on the podcast, you got to do something really terrible, like eat a hard-boiled egg. I was like, secretly, I was thinking, man, I fucking love hard-boiled eggs.
That's not the worst thing. I mean, it's not nearly my favorite egg preparation, but I don't mind it.
I'll eat a hard-boiled. I like hard-boiled eggs. A great snack though.
You eat them plain?
A little bit of salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah.
I like putting some hot sauce on there.
Look, there's never been an egg that wasn't improved with a little bit of hot sauce.
It's true.
I was really excited about WebOS back in the day.
Okay, is that in the time frame? Let's establish
that was
here.
like 2010, 2011.
Okay, yeah, that's about
We talked about it in the basement. Like we're talking about basement stuff.
Like I mean, I guess everybody does this, but I define like my memory is segmented by what office I was working in at a given time.
It's place and time are synonymous in people's heads. Yeah,
235 2nd Street, and then Sausalito basement, and then the Front Street basement, the nicer basement.
The good basement.
And then back to 235 2nd Street again, 3rd floor, then 1st floor. Anyway,
the problem with 235 Front is that all the floors kind of look the same.
Wait, what was Front? Oh, no,
sorry, 2nd Street.
Yeah. Yes, it is an office building.
Yeah.
WebOS started at HP, is that right?
WebOS started at Palm.
Oh, right.
And HP bought it when Palm collapsed.
Okay.
Or got sold, got split up, whatever.
So like WebOS is weird. Like I had a touchpad. Do you remember those HPs?
Yeah,
like a short-lived iPad competitor that ran WebOS?
Yeah.
Like I got it. They made them and then almost immediately put them on a fire sale. So I got it for like $50. It was my first tablet.
We had bought a review unit, and between the time we bought the review unit and posted the video, they canceled them. They unloaded it.
That's amazing. I thought like the tablet implementation of WebOS seemed cool.
It was freaking awesome. Yeah.
And you see, I think to this day, there are WebOS powered TVs. Is that LG?
LG owns WebOS now. Yeah.
They bought it? Okay.
They sell WebOS. All the LG OLEDs and all their TVs are WebOS based.
And on top of that, like you just generally see people talk kind of glowingly about it in a way that makes me think I was missing something. Like what was so much better about it?
Well, it had like multitasking and stuff like that in the time when iOS multitasking was really meager to non-existent, if I remember right.
Sure.
It was very much the time. It was there before the time. It was too early for the hardware. Like it was a little slow and chunky.
It was a bit clunky on that tablet. Yes.
But like their hardware was fine, and it was an interesting competitor to the iPad at a time when it seemed like tablets were maybe going to be a thing. Like if we want to be honest about this, I bought a new tablet for my kid a couple of years ago, but I haven't even considered buying a tablet for me since my iPad Air got old and slow.
Yeah, I am.
And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I'm probably good.
Like, wait, you mean forever? Like you're done with tablets?
I don't know if I need one.
Oh man, dude, I am like, I could not live without an iPad or equivalent nice tablet. I
use it as a
every
laptop?
day. No, I use it almost purely as a consumption device. But
or like reading and stuff like that.
Yes.
Watching video and stuff.
Not even video. That like maybe once a month I'll watch a YouTube video on there. Maybe twice a month. It's
okay.
Almost purely like news, Twitter, forums, stuff like that.
See, I do all that on my phone.
I
also have a big phone.
I want a bigger screen. Like that's like as big as a phone can be. It's still not as big as it's still not a 10, 11 inch screen. And the other thing is I always pony up. Well, not always. I'm only on my first one. But I pony up for the iPad Pro because of the 120 hertz screen.
That is
so
actually
nice.
a real benefit. Yeah.
It's so goddamn nice. You can't get that on a phone. It was expensive. You know, it's a good $300 more than similar regular iPad, but for something that I use for 5 or 6 years for 2-3 hours a day, sometimes it was hard to turn down. I could not live without a tablet.
If I didn't have a laptop that was like my portable computer solution, I might feel differently because but I've for the last 5 years, I've done work that required having like real 3D and like x86 compatibility on the go.
Yeah, it seems like it's just kind of a function of which specific devices a person has in that continuum from phone to big desktop, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like, do you have a laptop? Do you have a tablet? Is your phone big or is it a small, like crappy old phone? You know, it's like kind of there's so much overlap in the use cases for these different devices, right? That people just kind of find their preferences and everything can work.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Like if you think about my computing in 2010, 2011, 2012, I was using a MacBook at work. I had a big giant desktop at home. And then I was carrying a tablet for like laying in bed and reading. I wasn't really using Kindles and stuff like that. And it kind of made sense because if I would go on a trip and I didn't need to do any kind of video editing or a podcast or anything, I'd just take the iPad and a keyboard and I was great. And that was really nice. I find that the tablets, especially since they made the bezels thinner, are uncomfortable to hold for long periods of time with one hand.
Interesting. So I've had 2 iPads. I had an iPad 4 and then a Pro from 2017. It's like 2 models
like
old.
The second generation Pro or something.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 Pros old now. But I always I always get the Apple stand because those can be turned into kind of a kickstand sort of. Also, I am a habitual 100% landscape tablet user, which I think is maybe in the minority.
Wow.
I mean, it's closer to a monitor that way.
It's my shocked face.
And it's easier to hold. Like that's the whole thing. Like the kickstands that those smart covers turn into are oriented for landscape.
Yeah.
And because it's not as top heavy because it's not as tall, right? So it's very easy to prop it up in your lap on that stand in landscape.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I can totally see that. I would lay in bed and hold it and like do one of those jobs where you hold it up above your head and then you fall asleep and drop it on your face.
No, I have a little pillow when I lay in bed. I have a little pillow that I prop it up in landscape.
Little iPad pillow?
Yeah. Yes, I have a little iPad pillow.
Oh, Brad's little iPad pillow.
If you must know,
I want to see a picture of your iPad pillow for the show art this week.
I mean, I was going to come up with an answer to this question from 10 years ago, but maybe we should just stop.
No, I want to hear your answer. What was your answer?
I'm trying to think what else was going on at that time.
The Xbox 360 was all the rage.
I mean, that panned out pretty well. I mean, the question, specifically is something that seemed like a hot thing that never amounted to anything.
The problem is I don't remember really what was hot.
That's the thing. It's hard to remember things that fizzled out, right? Because they fizzled out.
Like drones were starting to be a big deal then, but that was kind of early for that. That was a couple of years later, really.
Yeah,
3D
also,
printing has turned out to be an enormous benefit for a lot of different industries.
But both of those things have very legitimate applications now.
Like there was a lot of home robotics stuff around then.
Yeah.
Like that's when we saw the Sphero and those kind of like, hey, you're gonna have a robot assistant around your house. And like home robotics is still kind of limited to vacuuming and pool cleaning.
We do have a cheap robot vacuum that's not a Roomba, though. I mean, those became commodified in a nice way.
Yeah, that's true.
Geez,
Does it do a good job?
It's fine. It's definitely not. It is definitely not a replacement for an upright handheld vacuum. I mean, hand operated vacuum, but it's a nice supplement.
It's a nice, so you don't have to do it quite as often. Maybe.
Yes. You can maybe get away with vacuuming a little less, or for me, it's more just it keeps things cleaner.
Yeah.
Like I still like to vacuum once a week because I hate dusty, messy floors. But it keeps floors in a much closer to ideal state from day to day.
Yeah, I feel like 2010, 2011 was a pretty good, like that was when so much innovation was happening in smartphone stuff that like there wasn't a lot of stupid, or at least if there was, I wasn't paying attention to the stupid categories.
Like I think of that period, let's say 2007-ish.
Yeah.
To 2012-ish. Like so much happened in that period. It's like maybe we should do an episode on that. Like
those are the iPhone years, man.
Well, it was not only in hardware, but also especially on the web. Like that's when the Web 2.0 stuff happened. Like Twitter launched 2007, GitHub launched in 2007 or 8. Like all those giant bedrock institutional Web 2.0 businesses now.
Yeah,
we're launching in 07 to 09 ish.
That's when the real applications came, I think, is
right.
Like
the iPhone came out in 07, the 3G, which I kind of think of as the actual first iPhone, came out in 08.
I think that's fair.
The iPad was 2010.
Yeah.
So like
the watch was like 2014, I think. I feel like the watch marks the end of that period.
Sure. Yes. The watch was definitely the first thing, at least on Apple's side, where I saw it come out and I was like, you guys are kind of straining for ideas, aren't you? I mean, like the watch is cool, but like it is not a sea change the way that the phone and the tablet were.
The problem with the watch fundamentally is that it's worse than a real watch in every way but one.
Sure. That is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't
have a good answer for this question, but I do think that period of time was a time of like very rapid progress on a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah, it was really a fun time to cover technology, and then when that ended, it became a much less fun time to cover technology, which is kind of what happens in the tech space. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is cyclical, right? Like there was the late 90s into 2000-ish. There's the dot-com boom. There was the first big internet wave. Things went bad for 5-6 years. And then this period that we're talking about happened, and now things have stagnated again.
Are you familiar with the idea of the Gartner hype cycle, Brad?
No.
So the Gartner is an analyst group, and they have this thing called the hype cycle. And the basic idea is that there's a life cycle to every new technology that involves like an early spike before the product comes out. Like from the time of announcement, from the time you become aware of it, it starts at 0.
Okay.
And then it goes up to a huge spike prior to actual availability. And then around the time of availability, it comes out and then immediately drops down a cliff. Because once the new thing comes out, it cannot possibly live up to the expectation that has lived inside the potential audience's mind.
Of course not. And the corollary to that is that wanting is always better than having, right?
Man, that's a grim thought, but okay. Yes, I think you're probably correct.
I thought that was just accepted.
Well,
it's always more exciting to desire something than once you have it, it's old news, right?
Probably, yeah. But anyway, so the idea is you have the innovation, you have the peak of inflated expectations, you have the trough of disillusionment. These all have names.
Okay.
Trough of disillusionment.
Trough of disillusionment would be an episode title in an episode where we hadn't uttered the phrase "my little iPad pillow."
Yes. So every year they map, and then after that, there's the slope of enlightenment. So that's the time period when the technology is widely available and people are actually figuring out how to apply it. Right. So that time period, and then the plateau of productivity is once it just becomes a part of the background world. It's a dopey business thing, but
very grandiose names.
Well, everything maps to it though, and it literally happens every single time. Like VR in 2011. Huge huge amount of hype. People were so excited. We were approaching the peak of inflated expectations. And then it came out and there were like 10 games and people were like, oh, that's pretty cool. Straight to the trough.
Yeah.
Right.
This is cool. It's kind of a hassle. I tripped over the wires.
Yeah. It didn't work because there's a glass window behind my PlayStation. Fuck this. Yeah. Slope of enlightenment comes up and that's kind of where we are now, right? Like now there's just a steady churn of new products and games and stuff like that coming out for it. And,
so you're saying at the top of the slope of enlightenment lies the metaverse? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's the metaverse is in the innovation trigger to peak of inflated expectations phase of the Gartner hype cycle right now.
I see.
Yeah. And some things move through this process faster than others. So like they've had quantum machine learning on this thing for years now, and it's always in the innovation trigger, like prior to the peak of inflated expectations area.
Qubits are poorly behaved.
Qubits are impossible to control.
They really have minds of their own.
You can measure them.
You never know what they're doing.
Yeah. Nope. That's exactly it. Quantum physics jokes. Here you are.
Yeah, welcome to this
Brad,
podcast.
We've reached the portion of the show where we thank the patrons.
Yeah. Thank you, patrons.
Thanks, patrons.
Thank you.
As always, Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod is 100% listener supported. So if you would like to help support the show financially, or just with enthusiasm and also financially, you can go to patreon.com/techpod.
Sometimes one often leads to the other.
Yeah. Hopefully this works out well for everyone. When you sign up for the Patreon, you get access to the fabulous TechPod Discord, where like 2,300 people now, 2,500, 2,700 people, almost 3,000 people. I don't know.
On the Discord because not, I have found in my last couple of year or so of experience with Patreon, not everyone who signs up actually connects the Discord.
It's a really high number of the people who sign up that connect though. It's like 90% of the people who sign up connect to the Discord.
We're over 2,700 now.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of interesting conversations happening there all day about all sorts of different topics.
Oh, I shouldn't get into this because this podcast is going long and it's dinner time. But there was a little conversation in the Linux channel today about curl-based utilities, curl tools.
What does curl stand for, Brad?
Curl is the name of a command line, a very widespread command line, CURL.
It stands for something though, doesn't it? Does
it stand for something? It's not. It better not be a recursive acronym.
I'm sure it's recursive.
The name stands for client URL. Apparently is where the name came from.
Boo. Disappointed in you, curl people.
I actually don't know how to define curl, even though I use it frequently. I was like sitting here trying to think, like, how do I explain what curl is? It's kind of thing where you know it when you see it. But Wikipedia describes it as a tool for transferring data using various network protocols.
Ooh.
As vague as that could possibly be. It's like it's kind of like wget. It's another command line utility for
like Kermit
pulling things down, I guess. Sure. Yeah. Except I didn't realize now that I'm looking at this that curl, we're getting way off topic here. Curl supports a crap load of protocols like Gopher and FTP.
Wow.
But you can use it. You can curl text files right into your console. And so people have gone out and registered a bunch of very cool short little domains. So you can actually just curl domain name, and whatever web application they've got on the other end will deliver you whatever it is you need. There's one, I think the actual name is called Cheat Sheet, but the name is, I think it's cht.sh. Okay. So if you curl cht.sh in your terminal, it'll pop out the big kind of menu system. And it's basically tutorials for anything you can think of. Command line cheat sheets for like any topic you can possibly think of. It's all community driven.
Oh, that's awesome.
Are you trying this now?
I'm looking at it right now. Yes.
It'll print out like a big list of things you can do. Like I've been learning Vim.
This is awesome. No, don't start this conversation. No,
this
is verboten. We cannot talk about, because then somebody's going to be like, Emacs is better, bro.
Dude.
And we're going to be like, we're not having the Vim versus Emacs nonsense here.
At least one person said Emacs is better when I was talking about Vim on the Discord. Anyway, all I was going to say is you could then curl like cht.sh/vim or /cfs or / whatever you want to know about. Instant, like very nice, tidy little cheat sheet of like the common commands, like examples, stuff like that.
This is what man pages should be.
Right. So it is that. So then somebody pointed me to something else called TLDR.
Oh, I love TLDR.
Oh, you're familiar with it. So it is, that is like a crowdsourced, like simplified man page system that I also
too long didn't read.
Excited to set up. The person who made Cheat Sheet also made, do you still have your terminal up?
I mean, I just went to cht.sh and opened a terminal window on my browser because it's the 21st century.
What are you talking about? there's never been a better time to have a full GNU util environment set up on any operating system. Well, crap. I was going to get you to curl the other thing this guy made, which is wttr.in. Are you going to do it?
I'm working on it. I'm going to open a VM. Why does GeForce Experience want to capture my terminal overlay?
Dude, I don't.
What am I doing? I'm curling.
I explicitly do not install the GeForce Experience anymore. Curl wttr.in.
This is the weather in.
How cool is that?
How does it know where I am?
I don't know. I'm sure it's geolocating you somehow by IP, maybe.
You know what time? Hey, tomorrow night it's going to be 69 Fahrenheit.
How cool! Look at this neat little ASCII art terminal weather report.
Those suns or those men? Is that a weather person?
Those are suns.
Okay,
those are suns.
This is pretty good. I feel like my line width is maybe not right, but yes,
you need to spend some more time in the terminal, man.
Look, I don't. This may shock you, but I do not spend that much time in the terminal.
Oh,
I know.
It's so much fun.
I'm sorry I disappointed you.
Sorry. I'm very excited about this stuff. But I found out about it on our fabulous Discord.
You can have conversations like these on the Discord. There are people there talking about weird stuff like Brad just talked about all day long. I talked about Simpsons the other day for a couple hours. That was really nice.
That'll happen. A lot of career advice and stuff like that on there.
Yeah, there's career advice is good. We talked about that a little bit last week. People were talking about boots. Like a good pair of work boots turns out pretty hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
Who knew? I'm really curious why my Discord search doesn't work anymore again after I wiped Discord a few months ago. I think maybe I'm doing something wrong with Discord. People are posting keyboard manifolds, which is awesome. Like the cut for dactyl pivot keyboards in just the general channel. We have good conversations pretty much all the time. You'll enjoy it.
I'm name searching myself. Somebody's making fun of my chair.
It's gone, isn't it?
What?
Did you get rid of the old chair?
What?
Been a great show, Brad. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. Oh, wait, we got to thank patrons. It's that month. It's the last episode of the month when we thank all of our executive and associate tier producers. So as always, thank you to all of our patrons, everyone who supports the show, or just folks who tweet about the show. Like that makes a difference. Tweet, Facebook, maybe put out flyers on your grocery store at the window and like, hey, you like technology? Maybe check out Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. Don't actually put flyers on people's windshields at the grocery store. That would be uncool. But the thanks as always to our executive producer, tier patrons, Andrew Slowski, David Allen, Jacob Chappell, James Kamek, Joel Krauska, The Bunny Fiend, and Twinkle Twinkie. And since it's the end of the month, thank you also to our associate producer tier patrons, Alejandro Navarro, Andre Burke, Arthur Geese, Brad Van Orman, Brian Rabe, Dan Brockman, Dave Ulian, David Fan, Donato Sinoco III, Graham Banks, Jad Rita, Jason Nealand, Jay Maybe, Jorge Pereira, Josh Klein, Julian, Sanchit Kumar, Terry Cox, Thomas Shea, and Wedge. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you to everyone you just mentioned and all of our patrons. You quite literally make the show keep going.
Yeah, you're wonderful, and I have not been in there much this week because I've been working really hard getting ready for this trip that's coming up. But I always love spending time in the Discord, and just like it's we've seen people get jobs, and we've seen nobody's found true love yet that I'm aware of.
Not that we know of.
I mean, there's still time. But yeah, people are finding new things that they like that they didn't realize that other people liked, and they're finding it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful community that's sprung up around the podcast, and we're really grateful for it. So Thank you all so much. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you all next Sunday. Bye. I just waved at the camera for no reason. Also, use Nano.